give you a response. Let's do a little recap for the last live show. So the last time we discussed, we asked the question, does price matter? We also talked a little bit about Pi, no, actually in depth about your involvement with Pi GCV. We spoke a bit about the open mainnet. We spoke quite in depth about Pi IOU and its correlation or significance in the open network. We spoke about the Pi KYC name validation and, of course, mainnet migration. I even asked you, how do you find the Pi core team as a whole, and obviously the effects of open mainnet on the Pi ecosystem. Now, these were all subjects that we discussed the last time we held this live show. Which one of them stood out? I mean, obviously, all of them do stand out, but one may have stood out for you. And if so, why? Why did that one actually stand out for you? Stand out, sorry.
Definitely. The section that stood out for me the most was the GCV. Probably because of the fact that I was part of the conference that nurtured the idea. I personally did a research about that as an initiative towards what we call global adoption of some of the previous blockchain solutions, or what we will call the first generation cryptocurrency solutions that has been, and also the relationship between the campaign and how those who pretty much sit right at the top, as far as geography is concerned, how they pretty much exploited and found a room for expression in the respective blockchain. But for us, the Pi network community, unfortunately, it took, I don't really like to use negative words. I would say it took a different turn. It veered to a different direction. Well, adventurous as it is, it also offers us room to learn. So because of that, it sits right at the center of my heart, because as I've said in many cycles, one of my strongest opinion about the Pi coin, and by extension, the Pi blockchain, price-wise, is that I will settle for the highest dollar price for the Pi. Now, this is coming from my understanding of what the blockchain seeks to empower. And the many things revolved around, this is a blockchain that is chartering a new path to build an alternative marketplace, alternative to the known use case for cryptocurrencies. We all know that the known use case for cryptocurrency is the currency market. Yet, that doesn't mean the Pi want to exclude itself from expressing herself in this use case. But most importantly is the fact that these visionaries, these founders are of the strong opinion that the current primary use case for the cryptocurrency, which is the currency marketplace, is just one of many potential marketplaces that will herald the blockchain solution. A lot of people need to understand that when we talk about the blockchain solution or the blockchain technology, it's primarily a financial technology infrastructure. Now, as a financial technology infrastructure, it sits right at the top to rival the traditional financial technology infrastructure as we have known it. That which powered our banking infrastructure, that which powered our cross-border payment solution, call it SWIFT, call it FedWire, call it CHAPS, call it Target, regardless of what part of the world you are. Is it the participating settlement houses as the case may be, and non-functional participant as powered by the apex bank of our respective countries. Those were the boundaries of the traditional financial technology infrastructures as we know it. Then come what we call the blockchain technology as a new financial technology infrastructure. Now, then comes the question, why should we leave the traditional financial tech solution standard to this new one called blockchain? Centers huge among the many benefits revolves around transfer, privacy, scalability, and security. Privacy in the sense that traditional financial infrastructures, courtesy of the fact that they are powered by regulators, don't need your consent to divulge information about your financial standing to whoever they deem fit. In fact, you will not have a financial solution or financial service from them as an institution without you agreeing to their terms and conditions. And among the many terms and conditions is the right that they should use your information or your data for reasons best known to them. And we have lived in the age of digital reality wherein privacy is a core. If you want to have information about me, I should be involved in the decision of choosing who should be privy to information about me, most especially my financial standing. Thus, privacy sits right at the corner of why blockchain technology looks as if it's a pretty much more scalable and more sustainable technological infrastructure to power the future of finance. Then comes security. Central around it is that we're not trying to say that the traditional financial technology infrastructures are whacked. It's just the approach of running the information infrastructure. The approach of running the information infrastructure as known by our traditional financial technology infrastructures is that it's run centrally from a central hub. And we have had a lot of problem when that center gets compromised. And blockchain technology, on the contrary, runs it in what we call a decentralized approach, wherein there are different locations that have the hardware capability to run as a headquarters of its own while still being a branch office, if I can use that as an illustration. Thus, if you really want to bring down a blockchain, you must have the technology resources that can take down all the respective geographical locations that help host that blockchain, as compared to the traditional financial technology narrative wherein there's a headquarters, and if you can bring down the headquarters, you can bring down the whole banking infrastructure. Now, we're not trying to say that the traditional banking or the traditional financial technology infrastructure is whacked. It's just the approach. Because how can we get past trustworthiness? You are the one who is in the headquarters. You are the one generating the data. You are the one vetting the data. How sure are we that it is well audited? Because of that, privacy and security is pretty much reasons why we are beginning to appreciate blockchain technology. The last one is scalability. Centrally, scalability revolves around you doing so much with the least fee. So when I want to do something, and pretty much by virtue of the reality of my interaction with that very system, I want to increase the futures, whether by volume or by futures. If you will charge me more fee for doing more, that solution is not scalable. But if I'm going to spend the same fixed fee for doing as much as I want to do, that solution is scalable. Now, we all know that our traditional banking infrastructure, the more we want to do a lot of expression, funds-wise, cost-wise, money-wise also attracts additional charges and fees. But when we come to blockchain technology, that same network fee, whether it's going to be a penny or $1 trillion worth of assets, still goes for it. Now, looking at these futures and these benefits, it shows that the future looks to favor blockchain technology. But of these, only one use case is ripe and mature. And that use case is what we call the currency market. Now, that does not mean that that's the only use case. There are potential use cases in the works around logistics, around governance, military, transportation, social interaction. The list go on. Thus, for the founders of the Pi coin to begin to chart the path of alternative marketplaces that will work alongside the known marketplace as we have known, it shows you that they really understand the potential of blockchain technology. I mean, can we just pause for a second and look at the bright side of the decentralized KYC solution and how it can be a potential business product when we come to identity management solutions at institutional level, at governance level? Can we just pause for a second and realize that this is at maturity a decentralized identity management solution that XYZ clients can adopt? Because at that time, I will not be a validator. Race United will not be a validator. Because as we speak right now, there's a machine learning algorithm learning from our consensus activity under the KYC. Thus, when this KYC product is fully mature, the algorithm itself will pick the ID, redact it, verifies it, and give either a pass mark or a failed mark. All protected by encryption technology and decentralized, of course. Thus, when we begin to see that the Pi network as itself is building not one, not two, but three potential marketplaces alternative to the currency marketplace, and let's assume these potential marketplaces reach 50% success, it means that we will have alternative market capitalization of alternative marketplaces alternative to the currency marketplace. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether it's going to be more capitalized than the cryptocurrency marketplace or less capitalized, but we will agree that it begins to give us that feel of what this technology is, looking at the future of Web 3.0. Thus, as we come back to the matter of the GCV, this is the data that has given me the idea that this blockchain and its currency is of the highest value. Thus, my constant submission was that I will settle for the highest dollar price for the Pi. Now, I have said in the last time we were with you, it was all for campaign purposes, most especially as we have seen how the Asian region did with the Bitcoin blockchain and how we saw the outcome close to 63% of the active miners of the Bitcoin at the mining level all came from Asia. Not until 2016 we began to see Western presence in the Bitcoin mining, demography, as I'll put it. CZ, the founder of Binance, in his story said he was informed from home. He was not in China, but his folks from China told him to look up the Bitcoin white paper, what we call the Satoshi white paper. And now Binance is a global solution. I have benefited from it. Likewise, you. Now, this is the impact of the campaign that happened. It was a nationwide, year-wide campaign in mainland China. The next product was Ethereum. And you cannot but appreciate the innovations around the ETH blockchain. Bitcoin being an only currency blockchain, Ethereum being an open source platform, allowed a lot of solution to build right on top of Ethereum. Probably a product of campaign. I see the same narrative for Pi. Now, for the fact that we are campaigning, that doesn't give us the room for the rigidity. Because none of us is a lone island. We as a community, we are here to play our part. We are not the only stakeholders as far as the drive for global adoption is concerned. There are at least 4 key stakeholders as far as global adoption when it comes to technology solution is concerned. The user community is just one of 4. Thus, there shouldn't be rivalry, there shouldn't be walls of suppression among us. Because if we are separated, we are not just doing ourselves good. And pretty much this is where it took. I still want to maintain my choice of usage of words. I don't want to use negative words as I put my idea across. But at some point, we began to tear at one another. And only a few of the GCV leaders were humble enough to pretty much inform the community, hey, this is where we came from, and this is where we want to go. I have had feedback from some people who pretty much wanted to do 1 or 2 things with the GCV community, and the GCV community were pretty much a little bit proud about it and give them standards. You must meet this, you must do this, you must do that. We are just one of 4 stakeholder niches. The other stakeholder niche that is central to global adoption is the community of developers. All right, we the users cannot achieve global adoption alone. The community of developers are those who are building the smart contracts, the layer 2 applications, the dApps. You list it. They are also an integral part towards the goal towards global adoption. We have to find a meeting point. We cannot just tell them we can only operate with you if only you listen to the GCV, blah, blah, blah. Because both of us can still not achieve global adoption. And let's not forget, all this is coming from the Pi Network's white paper that has just one vision. And what is the vision? To build 1, a currency, and 2, a smart contract platform for everyday people. Everyday people directly implies that this solution seeks to achieve global adoption and financial inclusion. Thus, all the stakeholders that matter to global adoption and financial inclusion, they are directly involved, or rather, the Pi Network's vision applies to them directly or indirectly. The third stakeholder niche is what we call institutional investors. Now, these are the folks who create real goods and real services. These real goods and these real services for years before now have been using the traditional financial
Yeah, Benjamin's slide came on, and the internet sort of started to glitch. He'll be back anyway. He'll be back. When he's back, we will talk about it. When he's back, I'll see him and we'll talk about it. Before he comes, there are things that I need to read. Of course, he'll still be at the background. Obviously, I've had a few super chats, super sticker from Gabriel. Thank you so much for that. Terry, obviously, this subject, we are going to talk about it towards the end, so don't worry about it. Yeah, we'll talk about, we will still talk about the pi, map of pi. So we'll talk about map of pi. Yeah, Benjamin is back. I'm going to get him on very soon. You ready, Benjamin? You ready? Are you ready, Benjamin? You ready? All right, he's ready. I'll bring him back on. All right, go on, Benjamin.
All right, sorry guys. A little bit of interruption. So as I was saying, the third stakeholder niche, we're referring to institutional investors, real goods, rich services. Permit me to give you examples: Sony, Coca-Cola, Apple, Google, you name it. PZ, you name it. Happen.
Go on, Benjamin. Yeah, go on. You're good to go. Okay, he's frozen again. Benjamin is frozen again. All right, don't worry, he'll be back. So as I was saying, we will still be talking about a few things. We've got so many things to discuss, but if your comment hasn't been read, don't think that it's not going to be read, especially if it's a question or if it's a significant one. We are going to talk about it, because what I've done is I've actually shelved them, so it's much easier to know where they are. Somebody asked this question, this one, because obviously Benjamin is still talking about the origin of GCV and obviously the discussions they had behind the scenes before its inception. And this gentleman here asked that, but why is Doris still pressing on GCV? I don't know. That is a question that Benjamin would answer, definitely. So we will get that question answered. And somebody here said something. He says, with regards to high price of pi, a lot of critics are concerned about liquidity. Any insight into what role traditional liquidity plays in the price of pi in dollar terms? What I know, or what most of us do know, is that there was a revised version of the what's the name, the white paper, and that revised version actually stated clearly that there will be a liquidity pool. So obviously, Benjamin would also delve into that eventually. So don't worry about that. But let me get Benjamin back on so he can talk about what he was talking about. All right, Benjamin. I hope this time your network is going to hold up.
I pray so. Apologies. I pray so.
Yeah.
So I was talking about the third stakeholder niche that has to do with institutional investors. Now, these guys are the one who pretty much make us, we the users, feel good, because they offer real goods, they offer real services. It's just that prior to now, they have been relying on traditional financial technology infrastructure as a medium to receive payment for the services and the goods they render. Now, if a new technological trajectory, which on paper has proven to be better than the traditional way of empowering transactions, is on ground, it's logic, it makes sense to include institutional investors as a stakeholder niche. This then brings the fourth stakeholder niche, which are pretty much what we call, or what I call, the compliance standards. These are the regulators, the government. Because you see, these institutional investors are in business courtesy of license. Those licenses give them finite boundaries on how to operate, courtesies of laws of land. Thus, these guys cannot go AWOL and say, okay, we are accepting X currency or Y currency for the services and the goods we render. They have to check in with regulation. They have to check in with the compliance standard. Now, these are at least the four stakeholder niches that matters to global adoption. And we who are the community of users, we should understand how in a long way we are part of the goal towards global adoption. Anything within our boundary that fuels separation, that fuels our hatred, gaslighting, helps no one. Now, this is the angle I'm coming from. Most especially is the fact that the whole narrative, the whole idea behind the GCV, as I have known it from, I think Woody had 4 conferences. I was in the first 3 conferences. The 4th conference, I wasn't there. The first conference was where we gave it a GCV. The second conference had huge presence from mainland China. A lot of big players came courtesy of the success of the first conference. And they did a lot of things behind the scene that is worthy of emulation. We need to give them a round of applause for a good job. The third conference built on the second. And there were people who were willing to stick out goods and services alongside a price consensus so that we can generate data. Of course, everybody knows that it is real services and real goods that sustains a price level. Everybody knows that. No matter how you say price A or price B is, when you don't have equivalent services and equivalent goods to support that price level, it's just a matter of time. The reality of the market is going to pretty much resize itself to the price that is pretty much real. Real in the sense that the price that is supported by real services and real goods. And this is where we as a community in general, not just a faction of us, need to put all our hands on deck. And we will go further to see that the idea of pi having value in itself, not necessarily needing an alternative currency to have an expression, will be a notion shared by many. Thus, the GCV was pretty much a very strong area of our discourse that pretty much touched my heart the most, Ray. Thank you.
Right. So that was the recap, people. That was the recap. A very in-depth recap. And you can rewatch it after you've done it, because this is some serious stuff that you can't get anywhere else. So while you're here, try and consume them. Race United.